All right, so moving on to the next topic, segment 2 for you guys today. I will be I will be sharing my NFL East division this year. I will be sharing how I believe this division will play out this year. So let's get into it. At 4, in 4th place coming in the NFC East this year, I have the Washington Commanders. Now, some of you might be watching and listening. Did he just say the Washington Commanders and not the New York Giants in 4th place in this division? Let me tell you why the Washington Commanders will finish in 4th place in the NFC East. I'm not a believer in Carson Wentz. I know I have my Cowboys hoodie on for you guys watching, and you guys listening know that I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, but I've never been a believer in Carson Wentz. Why is that? You look at every opportunity he has truly had in his career, and you would think Carson Wentz would at least be in the top 10 conversation at this point in his career. Talking back to his second season where he had the leap year, the big jump year where he would have won MVP, dare I say it, if it wasn't for the torn ACL. It is what it is. He never recovered from that. He never recovered from the expectations that were so high for him after that when he watched his backup quarterback Nick Foles win a championship, go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl that same exact year. And Carson Wentz can never duplicate, he can never fill in what Nick Foles has done for Philly. He has yet to win a playoff game. And he has yet to capitalize in any situation that he's had, whether his time with the Philadelphia Eagles or his short stint with the Indianapolis Colts. Carson Wentz has never got it done with any respective franchise he's been a part of. Still not a believer at this point, especially last year with the Indianapolis Colts. I think he was in the best situation that he was in since the MVP year for Carson Wentz. And he threw 27 touchdowns last year and 9 interceptions, and the Colts still could not make it to the playoffs. And he lost against the worst team in the National Football League last year in the Jacksonville Jaguars when it mattered most, when a playoff spot is on the line. That cannot happen, and that proves to me that Carson Wentz is not going to be any different with his time with the Washington Commanders. I'm not even sure he looked like the best quarterback in training camp this year. I'm not saying Sam Howell looked spectacular, the 4th-round pick from North Carolina. I'm not saying he looked spectacular, but hey, he looked like the better quarterback that I saw in training camp highlights, and he looked like the better quarterback in preseason for this Washington Commanders team. Another reason why they'll finish in 4th place, I think this team really has a suspect defense. This team, after winning the NFC East at 7-9 in 2020, their defense has looked suspect. Now, their defense had a top 5 unit, surprisingly, in the 2020 year, and that's mainly because of their front 7, not their defensive backs. Their front 7 held it down for that defense in 2020. Ever since then, that defense has not been the same. I know injuries have occurred. I know Chase Young got hurt. He wasn't really a part of that defense last year. But there's no excuse of why that defense had that big of a drop-off from 2020 to 2021, being one in the top conversation for top 10 worst defenses of last year. That was a huge drop-off. And all jokes aside, I really have a lot of question marks at the running back position due to the fact of Brian Robinson being shot on Sunday. I'm so glad he's alive. I'm so glad he's going to have a chance to get back on the football field this year after being shot twice. That's one heck of an accomplishment, let alone. But until he comes back, I'm hearing rumors and speculation that he will be back by week 5. However, he was going to be named the starting running back for the Washington Commanders this year. I don't know if the Commanders believe in Antonio Gibson at this point. I know he's a good receiving back. Obviously, not a really good running back. They could do both. I had him last year in fantasy. Rob will tell you the story about how the trade went down. Co-host Rob Sarasulo will tell you. But he's not that good of a running back. Hell, he's even being mentioned of being used as a specialist kick returner or a punt returner more than his role at the running back position this year. So, Commanders, I'm just not a believer in him. So that brings me to number 3. I have the New York Giants finishing at 3. I'm not sure if they're ready to compete just yet, but with the complicated situation going on with the Washington Commanders, a lot of question marks, quarterback position, running back position, whole entire defense. I just don't think that they'll finish in 3rd, and I think the Giants will, but I don't think they're ready to compete yet. I think Brian Dable is going to have these guys ready to compete on a weekly basis once the rebuild gets done, and maybe in NFC East competition, games will be way closer than they were last year when they competed against their respective rivals. And I have a lot of question marks with the New York Giants heading into this season on the offensive side of the ball. You're talking about Danny Dimes. Is this gonna be a wrap for him? Will the Giants franchise tag him? Will they try to explore their options in the 2023 draft class at the quarterback position? Time will tell, but time is ticking for Danny Dimes to prove he's a quarterback one in the Big Apple for the New York Giants or not. Another question mark for me for the New York Giants and Saquon Barkley. I know how special of a player Saquon Barkley was when he was coming out of Penn State, heading into the NFL, and his rookie year, he looked as good as Zeke did in his rookie year. Looked phenomenal, looked spectacular until the injuries happened. Is Saquon Barkley just as injury prone as Christian McCaffrey? As of right now, I have to say yes. But time will tell. I think he is on pace to have a comeback year. Shut a lot of doubters up like myself. I'm curious to see if Saquon does still have gas in his gas tank. I want to see if Saquon Barkley can prove the doubters wrong that he still is a top back in the National Football League. Time will tell. That's a question mark. And the third question mark is Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay has had the biggest drop-off that I've seen with a wide receiver having so much potential. We're talking about this guy that was an absolute stud with the Detroit Lions, a standout, one of their standouts in their long rebuilding years down there in Detroit. Him and Matthew Stafford had one good connection there in Detroit. He brought his talents to the Big Apple, to New York, to play with the New York Giants. And guess how many touchdowns he's scored since he's been with the New York Giants? And this is heading into his second year. As many touchdowns that I scored last year. 0. How does a drop-off like that happen? Kenny Golladay, once upon a time, had potential to one day be a top 10 receiver in the National Football League. Those days are long gone. I don't even know who the hell Kenny Golladay is at this point. I'll be surprised if the Giants keep him on their roster for the whole entire season. But those are a lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, I'm not even sure how they're going to look. A lot of question marks over there. But I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to get third in the NFC East, just the fact that Brian Daboll will have these guys right at some point in the season, I believe. Nothing too serious, but better than the Washington Commanders. At 2, not the Cowboys, but the Philadelphia Eagles I have at 2. Listen. I know what you guys are thinking. The Eagles won't win the NFC East? They won't. And I'll explain to you why. I will put my pride to the side, my biasness to the side. The Philadelphia Eagles have had one hell of an NFL offseason. I think they had the best NFL offseason. You want to be realistic. They did a lot of great things. They traded for A.J. Brown, got themselves a true number one wide receiver to tag team with Devontae Smith out there at the wide receiver position. They still have Dallas Goedert of course, at the tight end position. They had one heck of a draft, drafting Jordan Davis. The steal of the draft, in my opinion, Nakobe Dean, who I still wish was a Dallas Cowboy, but he's not. Nakobe Dean was a steal for them in the draft. James Bradbury they got at the cornerback position. And they got so much more NFL acquisitions, but they really loaded up on the defensive side of the ball. You obviously know I just said A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert are their big weapons on the offensive side of the ball. And I still believe they have one of the best offensive lines in football. But the division and the fate of the Philadelphia Eagles rides on one man this year. One man only, and he plays at the quarterback position, and his name is Jalen Hurts. How good can Jalen Hurts be? We're going to find out, because if Jalen Hurts doesn't deliver at least an NFC East championship for the Philadelphia Eagles this year, he's out of Philly, and they will blow a first-round pick on a quarterback next year in the 2023 draft. Mark my words. It all comes down to Jalen Hurts. How effective will Jalen Hurts be? Will he improve as a passer? Will he improve in his read progressions? Will he check down, look right, look left, don't see it for a second, and just scramble? People say Lamar Jackson is a quarterback running back. No, he's not. The true quarterback running back at the moment is Jalen Hurts. We're going to see how much he really improved this game, this NFL offseason. And the reason why I don't have the Eagles, they might look better than us on paper, better than the Dallas Cowboys on paper. But deep down inside, they're not going to be better than us. And Cowboys have Nick Sirianni's number, second-year head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys, with as bad as a head coach Mike McCarthy is, somehow, someway, outscored the Philadelphia Eagles last year 92-47 in those two games that we played them last year. Week 3 on that Monday night game in Dallas, where we absolutely showed the Eagles who we were going to be in the NFC East last year. And at Week 18, when we blew them out in Philly. Now, yes, Philly starters didn't play, but the Cowboys starters did. At the end of the day, we put up over 50 points on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. So that helped us blow out the Eagles' combined score in 2 games, 92-47, playing against them in head-to-head competition last year. I like our odds. Dak Prescott owns the New York Giants, owns the Philadelphia Eagles, and owns the Washington Commanders. So you know who I have at number 1 at winning the NFC East is the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, like I just said, what the Google search should say on your Safari or whatever way you look up on the internet, you should look up who's the owner of the New York Giants, of the Washington Commanders, of the Philadelphia Eagles. It should say Dakota Prescott is the owner of all of them, because Dak Prescott, since coming in the year and coming into the season since 2016, has owned every team. He's 25-6 against NFC East competition. The New York Giants haven't even beat Dak Prescott since his rookie year with the Dallas Cowboys since I've been a senior in high school. That's how long it's been since the New York Giants have beaten the Dallas Cowboys. The Washington Commanders don't have an answer for Dak Prescott when healthy, neither do the Philadelphia Eagles. As far as I'm concerned, Jalen Hurts has to be... Did he ever beat the Dallas Cowboys? If Jalen Hurts has ever beaten the Dallas Cowboys, it's only been one time. He's 1-3, I believe. Yes, he is 1-3 against the Dallas Cowboys. And that's something not to be proud of, because the first time he was a starter as the Dallas Cowboys, Andy Dalton beat him. So that should prove you who owns Jalen Hurts in our division. On paper, like I just said, might look like the Eagles have the better roster at the moment. The Dallas Cowboys are dealing with a lot of question marks, a lot of injuries. We're dealing with a lot of things, but when we're healthy, I think we will be better than the Philadelphia Eagles. I do like our roster when we are healthy. We of course have Dak Prescott at the quarterback position. Even though Ezekiel Elliott is still not the guy that we all once loved and remembered as being one of the best running backs in the National Football League, he still has a tag team duo with Tony Pollard. I think they are one of the best 1-2 punches at the running back position heading into the season. You have CeeDee Lamb, who's going to step up and emerge as a true number 1 wide receiver, I believe, this year. Michael Gallup, when he gets ready and comes back healthy from that torn ACL. You have James Washington, who we will have also when he comes back healthy. Still have Dak Prescott's favorite security blanket from last season at the tight end position in Dalton Schultz. And I believe we will have a top 10 defense this year led by the Pack and Michael Parsons. So I believe the Cowboys will sweep the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants this year. I actually do believe the series is going to be split between us and the Philadelphia Eagles this year. I think the Eagles are going to beat us the first time in the beginning of the season when we play them in Philly. And I think we're going to win a division when it matters most come Christmas time when they play us in Dallas. That should be the Sunday night game that week. That's probably going to determine who wins the NFC East. But I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to beat them in that Sunday night game to determine who the true champion is in the NFC East. I'm talking like this is the Super Bowl, but this is all the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this year, the NFC East. So with that being said, last year I put my prediction right. It was right accurate when I predicted the Cowboys record at 12-5. They were 12-5 last year. I said they would win at least one playoff game. I didn't get that right, but I did get the record right at 12-5. This year I'm going to go ahead and say the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East and go 11-6. Not expecting a Super Bowl. I don't want to hear any Dallas Cowboys fans say this is our year, because it's not. As long as we have Mike McCarthy there at the head coaching position, the second coming of Jerry Jones one of Jerry Jones's lost sons besides Jason Garrett, we will never be successful. We will never crack at an NFC championship game. We'll never crack at a Super Bowl. So I believe the Cowboys will go 11-6. time will tell if we'll win a playoff game this year. But I do have the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East this year. Again, Commanders finishing in 4th, Giants finishing in 3rd, Eagles finishing in 2nd, and Dallas Cowboys finishing at 1st as 2022 NFC East champions.